WWE just made the biggest mistake of 2026. Adam Pearce has officially fired Bronson Reed, and the entire wrestling world is in absolute chaos. After Bronson brutally ended Bron Breakker's career in the most vicious attack we've seen in years, Pearce decided to terminate Reed's contract on the spot. But here's what has everyone furious: was this justified punishment, or did WWE just cave to public pressure and make a terrible business decision? Bronson Reed is claiming he was wrongfully terminated. Bron Breakker's career might be over at only 26 years old. And fans are divided like never before. Some are celebrating Reed's firing, while others are calling it the worst decision in WWE history. This controversy is exploding across every platform, and I'm about to break down exactly why this situation is so much worse than anyone realizes. Drop your opinion in the comments now. Before we dive into this absolute nightmare of a situation, you need to smash that subscribe button and absolutely destroy that notification bell. Ring Rumble 1 is your home for the most controversial, most talked about wrestling breakdowns on YouTube. We don't shy away from the tough topics. We give you the unfiltered truth that mainstream wrestling media won't touch. We're building a community of real wrestling fans who demand accountability, who ask the hard questions, and who aren't afraid to call out WWE when they mess up. If you want in-depth analysis that goes beyond the surface, subscribe right now. Trust me, the content coming to this channel is going to be unmissable. Now let's break down this disaster. Let's start from the beginning because this story is insane. 3 weeks ago on Monday Night Raw, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed were scheduled for a standard singles match. No stipulations, no bad blood, just two powerhouses going head-to-head. The match itself was incredible, two absolute monsters throwing each other around the ring like it was nothing. Bron was getting the upper hand. He hit his signature spear and was setting up for another one to finish the match. The crowd was on their feet. This was textbook Bron Breakker dominance. But then, as Bron charged for the second spear, Bronson moved at the last second and Bron went crashing into the ring post. The impact was sickening. You could hear it throughout the arena. Bron crumpled to the mat, holding his shoulder. The referee immediately called for medical attention. This wasn't part of the script. You could see the genuine concern on everyone's faces. But Bronson Reed, he didn't stop. That's when everything went sideways. Medical staff slid into the ring to check on Bron. The referee was waving his arms, signaling that the match was over. But Bronson Reed pulled the doctors away from Bron and tossed them out of the ring like they were nothing. The crowd started booing. This wasn't heat, this was genuine concern for Bron's well-being. What happened next was shocking. Bronson grabbed the injured Bron Breakker, lifted him up, and hit a devastating tsunami. His top rope splashed directly onto Bron's injured shoulder. The sound of Bron screaming in agony echoed through the arena. Fans were covering their mouths in horror. But Bronson still wasn't done. He rolled out of the ring, grabbed a steel chair, and slid back in. Security was rushing down the ramp. Referees were trying to intervene. Bronson swung the chair and obliterated Bron's shoulder with 3 consecutive chair shots. Crack, crack, crack. Bron's screams were haunting. This wasn't wrestling, this was an assault. This was attempted murder of someone's career. Finally, security tackled Bronson and dragged him away from the ring. But the damage was done. Bron Breakker lay motionless in the ring, clutching his shoulder, tears streaming down his face. The medical team immediately called for a stretcher. The arena went silent as Bron was stretchered out. Fans were chanting, "Thank you, Bron." Some were crying. This felt serious. This felt real. Multiple medical professionals that continuing his wrestling career poses significant risk of permanent disability. Bron is currently evaluating his options. The wrestling world went into mourning. Bron Breakker, only 26 years old, a future world champion, potentially forced into retirement because of Bronson Reed's actions. You'd think Bronson would show some remorse, right? Some regret for potentially ending a young man's career. Wrong. Bronson posted on social media, "Bron Breakker was weak. I exposed him. If he can't handle the brutality of this business, he doesn't belong here. I have no regrets." The post got ratioed into oblivion. Thousands of comments calling Bronson a disgrace, a career killer, and demanding he be fired immediately. Wrestling legends weighed in. Mick Foley tweeted, "There's a difference between being tough and being reckless." What Bronson did crossed every line. Stone Cold Steve Austin said on his podcast, "Look, I've done brutal things in my career, but I never intentionally tried to end someone's livelihood. That's not being a badass, that's being a bully." Even fellow WWE superstars were speaking out. Drew McIntyre posted, "Bron is like a little brother to me. What happened to him makes me sick. There needs to be consequences." The pressure on WWE to do something was immense. For 2 weeks, Adam Pearce remained silent. The Raw general manager was caught between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, he had to maintain order and show that actions have consequences. On the other hand, Bronson Reed is a massive talent who draws money. Backstage reports indicated that WWE management was split on what to do. One camp argued, "Fire him. Make an example. Show that we protect our talent." The other camp countered, "Suspend him, fine him, but don't fire him. He's too valuable." This is wrestling, controversial moments happen. The debate raged for days. Meanwhile, Bron Breakker announced he was undergoing surgery and beginning the long road to recovery, though he admitted, "I don't know if I'll ever be the same wrestler I was." That statement crushed fans. The idea that we might never see prime Bron Breakker again was heartbreaking. Finally, this past Monday Night Raw, Adam Pearce opened the show. The crowd was buzzing. They knew something big was coming. Pearce stood in the ring, looking more serious than we've ever seen him. "Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 2 weeks, I've had to make the most difficult decision of my career as Raw general manager." The arena went silent. What Bronson Reed did to Bron Breakker was not competition. It was not intensity. It was not even extreme aggression. It was a malicious, premeditated attack designed to inflict maximum damage on a fellow WWE superstar. The crowd started cheering. They knew where this was going. After consulting with WWE management, medical professionals, and legal counsel, I have made my decision. Effective immediately, Bronson Reed's WWE contract has been terminated. The building erupted. Fans were on their feet. Yes, chants filled the arena. Justice had been served. But Pearce wasn't done. "Bronson, if you're watching this, and I know you are banned from all WWE events, properties, and programming. If you step foot in any WWE building, you will be arrested for trespassing. You are no longer welcome here, due to potential legal liability if they kept Bronson employed." Wade Keller countered. Backstage sources indicate this was a creative decision, and Reed could be brought back in 6 to 12 months. The confusion was real. Was this a legitimate firing or an elaborate work? 2 hours after his firing was announced, Bronson Reed went live on Instagram. Over 200,000 people tuned in to hear what he had to say. "Adam Pearce, WWE, all of you just made the biggest mistake of your lives." Bronson was seething. "You fired me for doing my job. For being the most dangerous man on the roster. For creating a moment that everyone is talking about." He continued, "Bron Breakker is soft. He couldn't handle the pressure. He couldn't handle the intensity. And instead of admitting he's not cut out for this business, he cried to management and got me fired." The comments were going crazy. Some agreed with Bronson. Others thought he was delusional. "You think this is over?" Bronson's face was red with anger. "I've got lawyers. I'm filing a wrongful termination lawsuit. WWE breached my contract by firing me without cause. I'm going to own this company when I'm done with them." The legal threat was serious. If Bronson actually pursues this, it could get messy for WWE. Here's where this gets complicated. Employment law experts have weighed in, and WWE might actually be in trouble. Attorney Andrew Thompson tweeted, "If Reed's contract didn't have specific language about conduct detrimental to the company, WWE may have violated the agreement. This could be a costly lawsuit." The argument goes like this: Bronson was performing his job as a heel wrestler. Creating controversial moments is part of the job description. If WWE didn't like his actions, they should have suspended him or altered his character, but firing him might be considered breach of contract. On the flip side, Reed's legal team would argue, Reed's actions endangered another employee and exposed the company to liability. Termination was justified under workplace safety provisions. This could go to court. This could result in a massive settlement. This could set precedent for how WWE handles controversial segments in the future. Meanwhile, Bron Breakker released his own statement. I appreciate Adam Pearce and WWE management for taking my situation seriously. What Bronson did was wrong, and I'm glad there were consequences. That said, I'm focused on my recovery and hopefully returning to the ring stronger than ever. The statement was classy and professional. But reading between the lines, you can see the uncertainty. Hopefully returning is not definitely returning. Medical experts have said that shoulder injuries of this severity, especially with previous damage, have a 40% chance of re-injury even after surgery. That's a terrifying statistic for someone whose career depends on their physical abilities. Backstage reports indicate the WWE locker room is split on this decision. Veterans like The Miz and Dolph Ziggler reportedly support the firing. There's a line you don't cross. Bronson crossed it. But younger wrestlers are concerned. If they can fire Bronson for being too intense, what's stopping them from firing any of us if we have an accident or a spot goes wrong? The fear is real. Wrestling is inherently dangerous. Injuries happen. But where's the line between an accident and intentional harm, workplace violence? The big questions now are, point 1, will Bronson actually sue WWE? If yes, this could drag out for years. Point 2, will Bron Breakker ever return to the ring? His future is uncertain. Point 3, was this a legitimate firing or a work that will lead to Bronson's return down the line? Point 4, how does WWE book their heel roster now without one of their most effective villains? Rumors are already circulating. Some insiders claim this is a cooling-off period, and Bronson will return for a WrestleMania angle. Others insist the firing is legitimate and WWE has moved on. The truth, nobody knows for sure, and that's what makes this so frustrating. At the end of the day, this comes down to a simple question: where's the line? Wrestling is supposed to be intense. It's supposed to be violent. It's supposed to create controversy. But when does it go too far? Should wrestlers be held accountable for in-ring actions that result in serious injuries? Or is this just part of the business? Should WWE have protected Bron better? Should the match have been stopped sooner? Could this whole situation have been avoided? These are hard questions with no easy answers. So what do you think? Was WWE right to fire Bronson Reed? Or did they make a huge mistake? Was this justified or an overreaction? Should Bronson sue? Will Bron Breakker ever return? Drop your honest opinions in the comments right now. If you think the firing was justified, smash that like button. If you think WWE messed up, still hit that like button and explain why in the comments. And if you want more controversial wrestling breakdowns that go deep, subscribe to Ring Rumble 1. This story is far from over. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any updates. Will Bronson return? Will he sue? Will Bron wrestle again? We'll cover it all. I'm Ring Rumble 1, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay brutal, and remember, the truth is always more complicated than it seems.